I'm going to teach you the mechanics of manifestation, how manifestation works in a logical, practical, to me, very scientific way to help your mind understand what we're doing and how it works. And we're going to highlight some of the challenges and obstacles that come up along the way that you will be experiencing. And I want you to understand at least the logic of this work to help you when you are navigating through challenges or obstacles, or you're moving through some money blocks, and also to help you understand why I take you through certain processes and what they're actually doing. So welcome to the mechanics of manifestation. So here is you. Beautiful you. The first step to manifestation mastery is to connect to your vision, to connect to what it is that you want, what it is that you desire. Now, vision, we could say, comes from up here, these higher centers. If you're into the energetics of the chakras, these are points that can live above you, right? That are connected to source or universal wisdom. This is still in an idea space, right? It's an idea, it's a vision. It's something that is not yet manifest, right? It's something that you want or something that you see. For me, my visions weren't really what Lara was choosing. I was being guided and shown what my purpose was and what I was here to do. Now, there's different access points around vision. So you might be very visionary. You might be getting big vision around your work, what you're here to do and what you're here to become, right? So this is more these higher realms, right? And part of vision is also, what do you want? And they're connected, but they're not 100% the same thing. So there's vision, and then there is kind of your wanting / desire. I think they're interconnected, and I think they're very important because your vision is something kind of bigger and beyond you. And what you want and desire is something that starts within you. That I experience is like a seed of consciousness from deep within here. Your wanting and your desire, right? And we've got a lot of stuff around why we keep that hidden. So there is a bridge between what you want and your vision. And this is partly what we're learning how to do with manifestation work, is to bridge the gap between vision or what you want, an idea, and physicalizing it, grounding it and rooting it into your physical reality, into your lived experience. So there is what I like to call a seed of consciousness that lives inside you. It lives inside your body, right? We could call it a seed of consciousness that lives inside of your heart center, right? But down here is usually where I find the root of our money blocks and also the foundations of our wealth. It's deeper down in the body, but there's all these different centers in our body, it's a co-creation through the body, right? So our journey of manifestation is to take that vision or that idea, your wanting and your desire, and figuring out how do we bridge the gap between what you want and your physical reality, your lived experience. Now, there's an outer journey, right, which we go on in terms of building, of creating, right, within your business, for example, and that looks like out into the future, right? And in a way it is, but on one level, time doesn't fully exist, right? On a level, everything is happening all at the same time. On the ground right here, right now, we work with time, and that's really important. Again, bridging between the spiritual truths and our physical truths. But on the higher realms of consciousness, everything is happening at the same time. And this is what I see. And so it's like future you and present you are actually all here at the same time. And this is partly how we learn to bridge the gap and how we become manifestation masters. But of course, in earth time, in physical time, right, we're going to be looking at months or weeks or months or years, right? But on some level, on the energetic realm, it's all happening simultaneously. Our brain really can't handle that information. So it's not that useful, except when we're doing manifestation work, okay? So we've got vision, want, desire. Wanting and desire actually lives inside of your body, and it's waking something inside. And then we're figuring out, how do we bridge the gap between vision and your physical reality? Okay, this is the journey that we're going on. And there are lots of obstacles in the way of this that we need to highlight. So the next step, we connect to your vision. We connect to what it is that you want, what it is that you desire, or this big vision that's more guided by your heart, guided by your soul, depending on your access point. You can access vision through tapping into what you want and desire, because there is a dance between them both. I believe that this is a co-creation between both. They're not separate, but they might look a little bit different. Your wanting and desire includes you, right? And your vision might seem like it has nothing to do with you. For me, my big vision is very much all about service. It has nothing to do with me. But I had to learn to also include myself in it, because it wasn't working just trying to serve without myself included, because you are an important piece, right? So that's really the first thing to understand. Then we move into what I lovingly call, right? We call it so this is your money map. This is your money map. Right? Where are you going? Right? And we want to connect to your money mission, right? It's the fuel. It's your why, right? It's the fire. Why are you going to do this wild and wonderful path, right? What is your why? What is your money mission? And for me, this is so important, because this is your fire. This is your fuel. This is going to be why you keep facing your deepest fears, and why you keep leaning into discomfort, and why you keep going into the unknown. If this is not strong, you are not going to be able to move forward. So we need to get clear on that. What is the thing that fuels you, that lights you up, that inspires you, right? Or it might be the thing that enrages you enough, right? Sometimes that we call that sacred rage. It's like, I'm just so angry about this thing happening, I'm going to do something about it, right? So what is your fire, that fuel, your mission? So that in the vault, we call it your money mission. It can be very simple, a one-liner. The next, we step into what I lovingly call your money mess, right? Your money mess, your money blocks. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here. So as soon as you may have noticed, as soon as you connect to your vision and what it is that you want, what comes up within a nanosecond? It's not a minute, it's less than a second, right? And this is your thoughts, your beliefs, your money story, right? Your past, your pain, your trauma, right? Your lived experience, how you've experienced life to be thus far. And this is what we're working on transforming. We want to transform these money blocks. The challenge with these blocks is they feel very real. And there's also a lot of data and evidence to back it, right? There's so much data and evidence. You're mostly hardwired into your money blocks, right? I just lovingly call them your money blocks, but they're your patterns of behavior, your programs, right? How you've done life, essentially. Now, in terms of the body, what's super interesting is it's riddled all throughout your body. So our money blocks, right, live on the mind level, right? And how you're thinking, right? Your thoughts, right? How you're perceiving. So your perception of reality, what you see, right, starts in here. right? So how you're thinking, how you're perceiving, what you're believing determines what you're seeing, right? It's incredible. It is incredible. So you've got certain glasses on right now that are giving your perception of reality, that are based on your thoughts and beliefs, but they're hardwired patterns and programs, and they're hardwired patterns of behavior. And this is endlessly fascinating to me. We could literally just spend a year on blocks, which we will be as well, right? This is where a lot of the heavy lifting is working on this area. But they also live in other parts of the body, your throat, maybe where you've been silenced, where you haven't been able to use your voice, your heart, maybe where you shut it down in self-protection because of hurt and harm, right? In your solar plexus, around your power center, where there's been a whole misuse, crisscross wires of power. When we go into money blocks, there's often a big sever. A lot of you and a lot of people that come into my body of work have done a lot of work on themselves already. So generally tend to be a bit more open in those higher realms because you're a bit more spiritual, into mindset, into all that stuff. But this is usually where a lot of the heavy lifting is around money blocks, is around our power, right? And around our creative center down here. Down in the lower centers is where I experience at least the source of a lot of trauma patterns, and how this creates a lot of kind of distorted reality and a lot of stress in your nervous system. So this becomes where we are really in mastery level, learning to hold yourself, right, through some very deep old patterns. Our sexual energy, any kind of misuse of sexual power particularly gets all trapped and blocked in here, but your sense of safety, right? Survival fears live down in the lower centers. So these money blocks, right, they are playing out through your body, right? And there's these very natural and understandable ways you've created protection all around yourself, essentially to keep yourself safe, you know, or it's how you've been taught, how you've been trained. And these money blocks, they come from, yes, how you're thinking, how you're believing, how you're perceiving, but then we go deeper, be like, okay, well, why? Like, where does that thought come from? Right? What's going on? As we start to go down into the body, we start to uncover and discover extraordinary things. Where have these stories come from? Where have these beliefs come from? Now, you could get lost in here, as in there's a lot in here, and it's endlessly fascinating. Looking at your family that you grew up in, the society that you grew up in, the religion that you grew up in, right? Or the culture that you grew up in, and also historical trauma. For example, your ancestors, what they went through still lives on inside of our bodies. The history of this planet lives inside of our bodies on one level or another. So we're going into very, very deep stuff, and it's important, but we also don't want to get lost in here either, because we also want to be moving forward. And there's always going to be work to do on your money blocks, on your money story, on your perception of reality and what's possible. It's deep, deep stuff, but also I have found, because I've spent 25 years working on healing and transforming and all of that, we also don't want this to like drain too much of your focus, right? It's important, but also we want to keep innovating and keep moving forward. So we don't want to get stuck in here as well, right? Because sometimes it can be a little bit of a shock when you discover what's going on and why you can't receive and why you're struggling with money. So we need to hold this with a lot of love and a lot of care and a lot of safety, right? While we keep moving forward, okay? So we hold this with mastery level. You learning to hold your money blocks is mastery level, and a really, really important key so that you can keep moving forward, so that you don't let those blocks and patterns and beliefs take you down and devastate you, which they can do. So this is really important, and why you need so much self-compassion, please, so much self-compassion and patience with yourself, because there's some things that are deep, 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 right? And we're going to go find them, and we're going to, you know, transform and rewire and all the wonderful things. All right, so that's just a quick touch on this very deep body of work around transforming your money blocks, which is an ongoing journey. Anytime you up level, by the way, you're going to hit up against them. So just know that this is part of the journey and part of the process. You have to be into self-development work, healing work, transformation work on this path. Definitely. So there we go. There's the money blocks. So the way to not hack into your money blocks, but to move around your money blocks, right, is this step I found, and it was the only way that I found I could move forward beyond them, was what I call embody your wealth, right? We want to start to embody. We want to start to embody this vision. We want to start to become what it is that you want now. And this is how manifestation works. We start to become the end result now. And this is where we're going to the money gym, right? We're starting to do the inner work. And in this process of embodying or becoming what you want now, at the same time, we're going into a process which I call rewire to receive, right? So I'm going to write this here, but I'm going to explain it. So this money block, let's call the wounded version of yourself, right? The disempowered version of yourself, let's just call it that for simplicity, right? It's very hardwired, right, in your nervous system. And it's very much affecting how you're seeing, how you're feeling, how you're perceiving, and then the action that you're either taking or not taking. So this is pretty much your default that's running you all the time. To shift and change these money blocks, we tap into your vision as your guide, as your mentor, to show you actually where you're going, but who you are or who you want to become. This is what I call lead from your wealth. We want to lead from this version of yourself. So you can see it outside of yourself, which is great. And then we want to start to bridge that gap and take that vision and start to embody it, start to become it. And I say down here because this is what I lovingly call your wealth cave, where we want to start to hold yourself and your wealth. We want to start to hold yourself, hold your wealth. We want to start embodying it. So we start to say, what does it feel like when this money is here? Who am I when this money is here? How am I being when this money is here? And your state of being is so important because you want to essentially start to regulate your nervous system, soothe and calm all of this down, right? To essentially, I am safe to receive, right? Money is for me. All the new ways that this version of yourself, how they think, how they perceive, how they believe, how they see, and essentially how they act, how they take action. And we're starting to learn to embody this wealth now, bring it into the body. What does it feel like? How is my heart when I'm in my wealth? How is my solar plexus when I'm in my wealth? How am I speaking when I'm in my wealth? How am I perceiving when I'm in my wealth? And then essentially, how am I interacting with life when I'm in my wealth? And so we've got a very beautiful activation in the vault, which is a journey through your chakras, your energy centers, to bring the wealth in through your body, which is really powerful to help with this. There's lots of activations in the vault to support you with this. But this is what we're starting to do. And we're starting to train you into a new way of being, which will create a new way of thinking and a new way of perceiving. And we're starting to rewire to receive. So we start with the embodiment, and this is going to feel a bit like work at the beginning because it's not your default. It takes energy, it takes focus, it takes consistency, and it's a daily practice. And we're starting to build it out from the inside out. And we're holding this, right, before we see any physical evidence sometimes. So this is the bit where we're putting the seed in the ground. We're planting the seed. We put the seed in the ground. We know in time new shoots will start to come up. But we are starting to put your seed in the ground, and you're not necessarily going to see physical evidence right away. And this is when I talk about we have to be in this for the long-term game, because some things are going to take a little minute. They're going to take a minute, right, to turn around. Because, right, these money blocks, they're so hardwired, and it can feel so deeply threatening. Not logically, of course I want money. Of course I want that money. Of course I want this. Of course I want that. But there will be a part of you that is telling you it is not safe, or you're not allowed. It's very hardwired. So this is what we need to keep to go into that money gym every day, embodying your wealth. leading from your wealth, connecting to that vision and starting to become it. Very, very, very powerful, but it's not everything, but it's a very strong foundation. So we need to get to know who you are at that level, and then how do you become it and bring it into the body. And this is how we start to bridge. So we're starting to embody your wealth. Okay. And then from here, this is for me where we start stepping into what can feel like manifestation magic. I want to show you how it works. It's very advanced. Most people are completely shut down. I don't know very many people that live from this place of rewire to receive. It's a practice. It's very high level. I really think it's where we're going, or where we need to go as humanity, but it's absolutely stunning. But you have to understand that most people are not choosing or living from this place. And I think that's also can be kind of a challenging that's why you have to be willing to step into leadership. You have to be willing to go first. And it's sad and lonely sometimes if you're choosing something that other people aren't really open to, but you are a leader, right? And so we go first. Leaders go first. Okay. So what starts to happen with Rewire to Receive is once you start to embody your wealth, you're essentially relaxing into wealth. I call relax into riches. You want to keep relaxing. Be like, hey, it's okay. We're okay, right? Back into the wealth. Regulate your nervous system. Calm the mind. Balance the emotions. Ground into your body. And this is where the energetics start to happen that are pretty profoundly beautiful. But your logical mind is not going to understand what's going on, okay? So when we start to open at the sacral chakra, if you will, the power center, the heart, the throat, the brow, the crown, this opens. You're connecting to your vision. This is opening. But also when you build safety for yourself, you start to open at the root chakra, right? This starts to open. Most of us are completely severed here, or here, or here, or here. Sometimes a lot of people are just like walking heads. That's what I see. So like, so right, we're disconnected. We're not connected to our body. We're not connected, which I think that's how we keep continuing cycles of hurt and harm, because we're not feeling what we're doing. We're not feeling our impact. And so part of this is learning to feel, defrosting, I call it, defrosting. It doesn't feel good when we're defrosting, but it's essential. It's really, really important. So there's an opening that happens here. And then this is where the money's at, right? We start opening down in here. Now, on the energetics, how I see it is you're a bit like a tree. You're a bit like a tree. When we open here, we allow the roots to go down, down, down into the earth, into the ground. We open here when we feel safe and we feel part of life, right? So what's happening is there's an energetic center that starts to open and starts to grow roots. But just like with the tree, this is all happening underground. So in a way, you can imagine that this part of your body is a little bit underground, which means it's in a blind spot, which means you cannot see what's happening in the underground, right? The infrastructure that is underground. We know with a tree, the deeper the roots, the higher it can grow. We know that. We understand it with nature. We understand it with buildings. There's about a third of the building is underground, a solid foundation of infrastructure that holds the rest of the building. If a tree doesn't have strong roots, the wind comes and over it goes. So we want to start thinking roots, right? Infrastructure, grounding. And this is your connection with this beautiful planet, but also your connection with life. And this is where some really awesome things start happening. And there's some beautiful science that can show us the communication that happens between the root systems, right, of trees, for example, that happens all around the planet. It's frigging awesome. So this happens on nature, but this is what I was shown psychically for many years. It's like there's a whole root system of communication amongst people as well. And we find this through stepping into our wealth cave, right? Going deeper, going into the earth, going into your body. So this is about getting grounded, getting embodied. You access it when you stay present with yourself now. Most what happens, our money blocks kick in, and what do? We disassociate. We leave our body. We shut down. We fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We go into the survival patterns. And this is what fire is in a nanosecond all day long, especially when you are scared, right? When you're in the unknown. And this is the mastery level, but this is firing, default firing, money blocks going off all the time. The work is going, okay, wait a minute, right? I've just gone to a reaction. I've just gone to survival, which is a very strong pull. And what we want to do is go into the ground and start to embody your wealth. Now, there is intelligence, there is science now. Thank God, I'm so relieved there's finally science that explains all this stuff, right? Of communication that comes out of our open hearts. Obvious communication coming out of our throat through words or language, but that can also just be through an energetic. There's a communication that happens through all of our energy centers that sends out sort of signals and energetic signals. What starts to happen here, and then this is open here, so you're connected to, you could call it God or source or the universe or life force energy. It kind of doesn't matter. To me, they're all the same thing. We've just totally got it confused. And there's a lot of distorted realities around that, but it's okay. We have an interconnection here, and we have an interconnection here, and we need both. If you imagine you're the tree, this is the trunk, your body's the trunk, there's the roots that come out, and then there's the branches that dance with life. The leaves are drawing in light, right? So we are quite similar in some ways, except we can move, right? So our root system is mobile, which is kind of cool. Now, what starts to happen is when you are aligned with abundance, you step into something that's called the toroidal field. I used to see this psychically for years and years, and I didn't know it was given a name or it was a thing. But this is this energetic flow that starts to happen between yourself and life. There's a flow of energy that starts to happen through you from this alignment. And we're opening up to receive, being receptive, right? We're drawing up, like the roots of the tree draws up from life to feed you and fuel you. You're drawing energy from above you to feed you and fuel you. This is what I call rewire to receive. But you're open, you're receptive. You're no longer creating any separation between yourself and life because you know you are part of life. And it's your true nature. This is nature. This is normal. This is healthy. This is when you're in vibrancy and your life force energy, right? This is natural. But most people aren't walking around like this. So we think it's wrong or bad or scary or dangerous or, right? Because also it's tied into our sexual energy. Life force energy and sexual energy is the same thing, but it's so distorted. We have so much hurt and harm and wounding to overcome and transform and heal. And this is what I love about, you and what you're doing is I talk about manifesting money. It's your business, it's your body, your business, your bank account, and how they mirror each other, right? And we want to start with you so you can start to build in your business and your finances and in your life. It's in more harmony and more alignment with your body, with earth, with life, with each other. This is my very big vision, right? It's going to be very imperfect and it's going to be lots of failure as we go because we've got a lot to overcome. But this is what we're moving into, rewire to receive. So this is when it feels like something just lands in out of nowhere, right? Or like something magic happens. It's like, oh my God, this thing appeared. It just came. And we can't, because we can't see, we don't understand the mechanics of manifestation. But for me, I'm like, no, that didn't just happen out of, thin air. You were in co-creation, you were open, you were receptive, you were ready, you were calling it in, your heart was calling it in, your belly was calling it in, but your body was calling it in. So this is part of the rewire to receive. And from this place, there's no question about, am I worthy? Am I deserving? It's not even a question. We don't go, I am worthy. I am deserving. It's just an isness. You just know, right? You don't even have to think about it. It's not a question anymore. It's an isness. And so I say your isness is your business. When you finally get into the isness of it, then things start to flow. Now, of course, it's a constant practice. But this, again, you are essentially starting to embody your vision and starting to open up to receive and getting into this flow. Essentially, I am safe to be me in life, right? I'm safe to speak, I'm safe to share, I'm safe to be, right? But of course, we are in a very wounded world and a very shut down world. And so if you're very sensitive and you're like, I'm open, and then someone comes in with judgment or criticism or rejection or whatever, we go back into our little hole again. And so that is a choice, whether we choose to go into self-protection to protect ourselves from life, or we build this incredible strength of resilience and deep roots. Be like the trees. So the judgment or the rejection or the criticism or the setbacks is like the wind or the storms, like the tree just bends, we just bend. So we want to think deep roots. And this is the foundations that you start to build in yourself, that you build in your business, that you build in your bank account. This is why I want you to be very, very wealthy, very strong foundations that's holding you. Okay. So here, when we get this inner game aligned and keep working towards it, remember it's a practice, is aligned action. So we want to be taking action from an aligned place, right? Right, from the whole healed, healthy, harmonious part of you, right? That's absolutely connected to your vision, to what you're here to do, who you're here to serve, what your message is, right? And you take action from that place. And we start to build from this place, rather than most of us are taking action from all sorts of wounded ways and wounded ways of thinking. So what is that aligned action? Essentially, like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you had all the money, right? So I say, what does that wealthy version of you, the vision of you, say? That future you that's already made that money, that's already figured it out, that's already built it, that's already created it. How does that part of you guide you into action on the ground, right? What action do I need to take to start building? Start building. But down here, we're having to build new infrastructure from the ground. Sometimes we have to clear out the old first, right? It's like, oh my God, the first thing I have to do is sort my mess out. Shit, that doesn't feel good, right? And we don't want to do that. We're like, oh, it feels so hard. I don't want to give up that thing, or I don't want to start doing that thing. We're starting to build, we have to start building new healthy habits. And this is, I mean, I find this very hard and annoying, because the vision's like, okay, I'm clear where I'm going, but I have to do, there's all this work that needs to be done and cleaning up that needs to be done. And most people just don't want to do it because it feels too hard. And most people won't do it because it's hard. But you're going to do it because you are a leader and you're here, right? To not only transform your life, because you're here to transform the lives of others in one way or another, directly or indirectly. And that's why we keep doing this wild and wonderful work of wealth creation, right? So we need to let this make decisions from your vision, make decisions from this part, rather than making decisions from the old story. And this is why I think we just keep recycling over and over again, like recreating these patterns over and over again, because we're mostly unconscious. It's mostly unconscious. I think most people are not intentionally trying to do what they're doing. It's just unconscious. We think this is just how it is. This is just the way the world is. I'm like, no, it's the way it has been. It's the way it's going to continue to be if we don't make change, right? Human beings really struggle with change, and you also will struggle with change. And so we bring in a lot of self-compassion. This takes energy, this takes focus, this takes determination, right? It's going to feel hard at times, but this is really how it works. This is really how it works. And aligned action sometimes means, like, excuse my French, but stop fucking around. Right? Just, that's why I say, where's the fastest, most direct path between what you want and what wants you, right? And where you are now. And sometimes it's just me. I did a lot of fucking around because I was absolutely petrified and terrified. And constantly trying to figure out, how do I do this without any judgment, without any rejection, without anyone sort of having any trigger whatsoever. So I figured out, I can't. That's impossible. I'm going to have to trigger a lot of people. I'm going to have to get a lot of judgment and criticism to be who I am in the world. I finally Finally got it. It's like, oh shit. Oh, okay. And why am I going to do that? Because my purpose, what I'm here to do, is so much greater than, what people think about me. I finally got it. Took me a little while, right? So my passion is to help you fast track all of this and to have a safe space to be like, yeah, that's going to feel scary, right? We're overcoming our blocks. So aligned action, right? We want to be taking action as much as possible from this alignment of your wealth. It's going to be completely imperfect. You're going to have moments where you're like, la, and then you're going to fall out of it. Like, right? Think about surfing's the best analogy, because the pro surfers will hold the wave maybe for like a few seconds, and then the professional surfers, the best surfers in the world, constantly knocked off their surfboard. Any entrepreneur will tell you, business owner will tell you, they're constantly having struggles and challenges and setbacks. So as well as being a tree, we can also think about ourselves as surfers. And it's natural and normal, and it's okay. It's not that you're a failure. It's not that you're a fuck up. It's not that you're doing anything wrong, right? It's just part of the game. So action, aligned action, is about going for gold and focusing on what I need to do, right? But there's some things with aligned action that is going to be, and I think what's so uncomfortable is there's things that you don't know how to do yet, that you're going to need to learn how to do, right? There's things that you are not good at yet. They're going to need to learn how to do, right? And we do not like that. We don't like not knowing. We don't like not being good at things. We like the feeling of I know what I'm doing and I know how to do it. Like, there's certain things that I'm very, very good at, and there's certain things that I'm really, really not good at. And that doesn't feel good. And we tend to want to bail on ourselves, but we're like, okay, I have to be willing to learn. That's why humility is so important, to acknowledge what you know, but also acknowledge what you don't know. And that's vulnerable. So aligned action is partly like, okay, I have to learn things I don't know how to do. I have to acknowledge first that I don't know how to do something. I first have to acknowledge that, oh my God, there's things going on in my life that are not going well. And be willing to look at it first, acknowledge it first, and then start building from there. So that's the longer term. That's why some things take time. But there's some aligned action. Some of you are just like sitting on a freaking gold mine, right? Because you've been doing what you do for years. You've been building relationships and connections. And I had one client that literally was sitting on a gold mine. It was amazing. We were talking like, I was like, we found it. Like literally her dad owned a gold mine. And I was like, oh my God, you couldn't make this stuff up. It was amazing. So some of you are sitting on gold that you're not even acknowledging, right? And some of you have to build the foundations to grow the gold. And usually there's a combination of both. When we're in the wounded not enough story, we can't see what is, right? So we're not receiving all the good stuff that's here now. So even the good stuff that comes in, you can't receive it. You can't feel it. You don't let it land. That's one thing, right? And also there's things that you don't know how to do that are going to feel really uncomfortable, and you don't want to feel that either. So essentially we don't want to feel. There's a beautiful training in the vault called the fortune in your feelings, right? And partly holding your feelings is a really, really important part of this work. Holding. So this is it, right? This is it. This is the mechanics of manifestation. And as you journey through these steps and processes, all sorts of things are going to come up. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. You're going to be confronted with what your visionary self is saying, or your vision saying, versus your present self, right? Where you want to be going versus maybe what people around you think and feel or say. And there can be these conflicts that you come up against inside and outside. And the way that on this path we choose to navigate is to allow the visionary self to be your guide, but also understand there's going to be things you are facing on a day-to-day basis that are going to feel uncomfortable. And that is part of the process. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. So we will continue to journey through these steps, and I'm going to continue to be here to support you with any questions or challenges that come up for you on this path of how this works. And we're keep coming home. It's a practice of keeping coming home, one step at a time. And over time, you start to build slowly but surely. And you can see that by just looking at any area of your life that's actually going relatively well, right? Think about how you got to that point. Maybe it's health, or maybe it's relationship, maybe it's mindset, right? Maybe it's your beliefs, right? Maybe it's your business. Think about what it took to get you to where you are right here, right now. Sometimes we forget that. And then what it's going to take to get you from where you are now to where you want to be, right? It's a beautiful thing. You're going to be learning all sorts of amazing things and unlearning all sorts of unhelpful things. Beautiful. Thank you.